moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no else, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change.
Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac, and tonight, as you are well aware of, the Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Toronto Raptors on the second leg of a back-to-back. They traveled back from Miami to face this Toronto team, and while they got the services of Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley back out there, it just didn't seem to matter. Listen, this is a game that was incredibly frustrating to watch. There were some bright spots. We'll talk about them. But honestly speaking, I did not love the effort out there. One of the things that we preached about in that win over Miami, a big dominant victory, was how much effort, how much hustle, how much heart the deep reserves were showcasing and displaying. We talked about guys like Luke Travers, guys like Thomas Bryant, guys like Nae'Qwan Tomlin. We definitely going to talk about him tonight. They were all showing out, showing up. Tyrese Proctor, he wasn't the most efficient in that game against Miami in the first half, but he rounded things out pretty nicely in the second half, and so on and so forth. Lo and behold, the Cavaliers get back to Cleveland today, and it just doesn't look like the same level of intensity, same level of effort, same level of energy, period, out there tonight. And I understand that there's a lot of lineup shuffling, a lot of inconsistency from the rotation, right? Kenny was putting out some odd lineups tonight. I'll say that. And I wholeheartedly believe that there were a lot of different things in this game that was on the coaching staff. I think that Jarrett Allen playing as few minutes as he did tonight, after giving you a 30-point, 10-rebound double-double against Miami yesterday, him playing 20 minutes and 54 seconds today and just not necessarily being as involved as we saw him be, that was bull. And I thought they started off the game pretty well in that regard, in that category, because they were getting the ball to Jarrett Allen. There was a consistent flow of touches being given to him. And then out of nowhere, it just feels like that was turned off. It feels like they stopped going to that as they elected to do what we have seen them do a number of times this season already, putting up a gazillion triples. They shot 41 threes tonight, 10 more than the entire Toronto team. Right. And they were 24 of 4. They were 10 of 41. That's 24.4% from 3-point range. It was an absolutely atrocious night in terms of the efficiency. Donovan Mitchell, despite putting up 31 points, he was 7 of 18 from the field and just 2 of 9 from 3-point range. Where he did most of his work was at the charity stripe, where he actually earned 17 free throws, knocking down 15. That is where the bulk of his point production came from, because outside of that, he just could not hit the broadside of a barn. Evan Mobley, this is a terrible performance from Evan Mobley. Just keeping it all 100 here, being objectively speaking, Evan Mobley struggled tonight. And I just don't think that this is a performance he's going to look back on and feel good about. To me, it's just, yeah, it's earlier on in the season, but you don't want to see this type of stuff continue. He has to be able to provide. He was just getting beat out there. There's no other way to put it. Poor performance. Offense, defense, just was not a good performance from Evan Mobley tonight. And obviously he wasn't the only person to perform poorly. I think that, and I hate to say it because this is my guy, Larry struggled tonight. And to be honest with you, I think that Kenny Atkinson did the right thing by sitting him. He played 7 minutes. Cavaliers immediately gave up a lead, gave up a pretty substantial run to the Toronto Raptors with him in the game. And I think you saw Kenny Atkinson saw the same thing we did and just understood that he did not have it in tonight's game. And honestly, it's been a pretty rough going for Larry. I'm not going to pass too much judgment because, again, we're still just 13 games into the season. I'm not going to sit up here and make any declarations, but this has not been the best start to the season for Larry Nance Jr. And so in his place, what do we get? We got a hell of a performance from the likes of Nae'Qwan Tomlin, a player that you guys know if you've been subscribed to this channel since last season, I've been really high on. I put a video out way before the season even started saying and indicating that Nae'Qwan Tomlin should be a part of this Cavaliers rotation at the back end. And I think the player that I said that he should be getting minutes over was Dean Wade. Now, here's the thing. Dean, if you're going to play him over somebody on that bench right now, it's probably not Dean, it's Larry. That's just me being objective. That's me being real. I think that Larry has not had a good start to this season. And so if you are looking to make a change, if you're looking to insert some energy into that lineup, some youth, you go look at Tomlin. That's the natural candidate to me. It is absolutely wild to me that Tomlin has the performance that he put on tonight was I'm not going to say it was magical. That's probably a little over the top, but it was exactly what the Cavaliers needed. Coming off a performance in which, granted, he wasn't the most efficient from the field, but he provided defensive he provided glass crashing out there. He provided heart, effort, and hustle on the defensive end. There were a lot of different things that he provided last night against Miami, and he kind of overdid that today. 18 points, 6 rebounds. The best part about it, 5 of those 6 came on the offensive glass. To me, I just think that Tomlin has played his way into the back end of the rotation. In 21 minutes and 31 seconds tonight, he was a extremely efficient 8 of 10 from the field. He was crashing the glass like a madman. He was hitting backdoor cuts. He was making himself available for his Cavs teammates, whether that be Craig Porter Jr. or else, to get him the rock, and he would finish it off. It was just an awesome sight to see. He was probably the lone bright spot from this game. Well, maybe not lone. I'd say him and Craig, because Craig has been he wasn't the same impactful force that he was last night, where he had one of the most versatile stat lines we've ever seen. And I think he actually was the first Cavalier in history to post a stat line that he had last night with the 19 points. I think 8 assists, 3 steals, and 4 blocks. I think that was a historical stat line from what was this, Craig's 3rd year, right? And I think that CPJ and Nae'Qwan Tomlin were probably the only 2 bright spots that we saw out on the court tonight for the Cleveland Cavaliers, because Evan Mobley certainly did not have it. He had a very bad performance. Jarrett Allen was not necessarily used and only played a little bit below 21 minutes. And Donovan Mitchell was just inefficient as hell. Despite trying to will his team to victory, the efficiency just was not there. He got to the line. I give him credit for that. He was able to draw a ton of contact. They gave him the calls. As the Cavaliers as a team managed to have the Toronto Raptors commit 20 fouls, if I'm not mistaken. But I can't bring myself to be extremely pissed about this loss. It felt like the effort was lacking. And to me, it's the same recurring issues that you're seeing oftentimes out of this team. The effort has to be better. The defensive rotations at the point of attack have to be better, as there were so many wide open attempts that Toronto got, especially earlier on in this game. They continue to lean on that 3-point shot, even when some of your best 3-point shooters aren't out there in Darius, Garland, and Max Strus. And I get it. You're going to have to be there and to take those shots when you're not getting as much dribble penetration. But something's got to give. They proved last night that it is not impossible to get dribble penetration with players like Craig Porter Jr. running the second unit. It's not impossible for the Cavaliers to get the ball to Jarrett Allen in the low post, in the painted area, off of DHOs, off of the pick and roll, or out of the pick and roll. It's not impossible to do these things. They just showed you that last night. So I don't know. It just felt like a completely different team. And obviously, the back end of the rotation is not always going to be able to come in here and provide the spark that really the starters should be giving you. But I don't know. It left a lot to be desired, left a nasty taste in your mouth after watching a magnificent performance from Craig Porter Jr. and Jarrett Allen and the deep reserves and Tomlin and Brian and Travers even. And then that's really all that there is to it. Not any reason to beat a dead horse here, but I'm getting tired of seeing some of these recurring issues pop up. Just not too much really to speak about in this one. I think that there will be rotational changes on the horizon. And I think that as the team gets healthier, you're probably going to have to make some really tough decisions if you are Kenny Atkinson. Because legitimately right now, when the Cavaliers return to full strength, there's at least 10 to 11 players that could probably be deserving of rotational minutes, at least during the regular season. Let's go down the line here, shall we? Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, DeAndre Hunter, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen. That's 5 already. That's your starting 5, presumably, assuming that they're going to continue to run DeAndre Hunter at the 3. Your bench, your reserves, maybe you change it up from game to game depending upon what is needed and situational awareness, all that type of stuff. But it has to include Max Strus. He's going to play. Sam Merrill just got that fat, contract. He's going to play. Highest paid 60th overall pick in NBA history. He will play. They're not going to bench him, especially with the way that he is capable of catching fire at the drop of a hat. And I think that you're going to elect to play Jalen Tyson 100% based upon what he is giving you to begin the season. And yes, I know that there could be some positional overlap with some of these guys as Tyson, Merrill, Max. They're all interchangeable at the 2, the 3, and some 4 if you're talking about Tyson. But beyond those 3, it's really a toss-up because Lonzo had a pretty damn good game yesterday against Miami in his start. When his shot isn't falling, it is harder to make a real case for playing him over Craig Porter Jr. if Craig is playing the way that he is and giving you that offensive punch. Is that me saying that Lonzo should be behind Craig Porter Jr. on the depth chart? No, absolutely not. I think that Lonzo gives them a big bump in terms of the ceiling, assuming that he is healthy because of his two-way play. And if his shot starts to fall, it's over. And over his last 2 games, what have I been telling you guys? Lonzo is shooting 7 of 14 from three-point distance. He's shooting 50% from three-point distance over his last 2 games. That's good. That's trending upward. A lot of that, believe it or not, he is actually shooting better on pull-up triples than catch-and-shoot triples. It sounds crazy. And the percentages on both catch and shoot and on pull-up trays are not great for Alonso on the season as a whole. But as of late, he's starting to trend back upwards. And so with mentioning Alonso and Craig Porter Jr., that's 10 players already. So we got DG, we got Don, we got Hunter, we got Evan, we got Jarrett, we got Max, we got Sam, we got Jalen, we got Lonzo, and we got CBJ. And then the problem with that 10-man unit is that there is no true backup big. And so that's where players such as Dean Wade, Larry Nance Jr., Thomas Bryant, and Nae'Qwan Tomlin now could potentially factor in. And Tomlin, I do have to put the caveat out there, Tomlin is still on a 2-way contract. So he will not be playoff eligible if they do not convert him to a standard deal, which I believe that it will end up happening. But I think that they're going to use his 50-game eligibility as they should, and he'll eventually get converted, in my opinion. And maybe, just maybe, the Cavaliers make a deal at around the deadline. Honestly, I look at the Cavaliers as a whole right now, and obviously with the CBA being what it is, that does not give you a lot of flexibility because you have to match salaries. I know Dean is on the expiring, but the Cavaliers, as of right now, I mean, it's tough. They have 17 players technically under contract, including the three two-ways at Travers, Tomlin, Chris Livingston, who we haven't seen yet. And so technically they do have that open roster spot if the math is mathing correctly, but I don't know. You guys know I'm not the best at math. To me, what I'm saying here is that Kenny's going to have some tough decisions to make because I don't believe the Cavaliers are going to play with no true backup big. So one of those guys will play. One of those guys will play, whether it's Dean, whether they give him minutes at the backup four, whether it's Thomas Bryant, whether it's Larry Nance Jr., one of those guys will play. And then Nae'Qwan Tomlin, if they truly feel comfortable with the progress that he has made, and he had a damn good game tonight. He had a damn good game against Miami yesterday. If they feel comfortable enough with the progress that he has made, you got to factor him into the equation too. So obviously some of these guys are going to be, left hanging. Not everybody can play on a night-to-night basis. And in the playoffs, obviously the rotations will likely shorten and the bench will be probably reined in a bit. But at the end of the day, the question is, what do they value the most? Because they have versatility now. It may not always look like it every single night, but they have the versatility. They just have to get healthy. And health is always going to be the question mark for this Cavs team. It was a question mark before they entered, especially after acquiring Larry and Lonzo. And it remains a question as you've seen them deal with a number of nagging injuries during the season already, whether that be to Don, whether that be to Sam, whether that be to Jalen now with the concussion. They've had a number of things that they've already dealt with in addition to Max being out already. And then the cherry on top was Darius re-injuring the toe. Well, a lot to consider if you're being objective and you're not using one game sample sizes and we're not overreacting from game to game. But overall, I think this season was always going to be about health, but it doesn't help you. It doesn't make you feel good about the habits of this team to see them lose games like they did tonight. And to me, that's what this early portion is about. Yeah, the development. Yeah, the evaluation. Yeah, the hopeful evolution during the season occurs. But I think we're just seeing too many bad efforts rather creep back up. And that cannot be the case. The effort should not be different from night to night. We should get a consistent hustle. And listen, this is the thing. I understand that the season is a grind. I understand that you're not going to be able to play the same exact way every single night. But what I expect, and if I expect anything at all, it's effort out there. 110% effort. And you see certain guys on the roster doing that. You see Nae'Qwan, listen, I'm finally getting my opportunity. I'm going to take advantage of it. That's what he's doing. You see Craig Porter Jr., he's giving maximum effort out there with the opportunities that he has been provided. You're seeing Thomas Bryant in limited minutes. And granted, tonight, after playing about 12 minutes last night, Thomas played 6 minutes and 49 seconds tonight. There were legitimately points throughout the early portion of this game where I really honestly wanted to see Thomas Bryant over Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley purely based upon the effort on the glass. That shouldn't be the case with those two. And again, that's no disrespect to Thomas. We're talking about two players who have made the all-star team. You shouldn't have to be told that you need higher or elevated effort. It should just be there. And I get it. I understand this is a grind, but the bad habits, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking for good habits to be developed. Why? I don't know why it is such an inconsistent thing from a night-to-night basis. Something else that has been on my mind heavily, obviously, especially after the game that he had last night, was the involvement on the offensive side of the ball from Jarrett Allen. I just don't, and yes, I continue to say this, and it still holds true. having no true dribble penetration outside of Don and DeAndre and Evan at points, and not having a true orchestrator of the offense that Darius Garland is, it definitely hurts getting in terms of involvement for Jarrett Allen. But last night proved that he can be given the rock and asked to create, especially in the low post, where his post moves are a lot better. He looks to legitimately have improved in that category. And when he has given the touches, he genuinely has a real impact on the game. And I know a lot of people don't agree with that at times. I know he still has the soft label, or he doesn't play good against good centers, all that, all that stuff. And you're entitled to your own opinion. But what I'll say is that genuinely, or generally rather, when Allen has been given the touches, he is successful in helping his team end in a W. And case in point, right here, I can guarantee you, he didn't get his usual 30 plus touches in this game after only playing around 20 minutes tonight. This prior to tonight was the touches breakdown for Jarrett Allen. And you can see there's kind of a trend here, right? 22 touches against the New York Knicks. And here's the thing, fully transparent with Jarrett Allen against the Knicks, the effort on the glass was not there. That is the one that I can say, okay, Jarrett Allen was terrible in that game. 40 touches against the Brooklyn Nets resulted in a W. 32 against the Milwaukee Bucks, W. 36 against the Detroit Pistons, W. Below 30 and 29 touches against the Boston Celtics. Guess what? You got an L. 47 against the 76ers, 38 against Washington, 37 against Chicago, all dubs. 33 against Miami in that first game, and then 63 touches in the subsequent game that he had that 30-point, 10-rebound double-double. Now, again, small sample size, and yeah, there's an outlier there with the loss to Miami in which he got 33. But generally speaking, when he gets 33 and above in terms of the touches, at least 30, the team is probably heading in the right direction in terms of the impact out there. When you get him involved, when you allow him to operate in the post, when you use him in the pick and roll, when you have guys using him in the DHO, because I think a lot of people misunderstand at times too, even with that, something as simple as a dribble handoff. It's not just for Jarrett Allen. Sure, Jarrett Allen can hand the ball off to a Sam Merrill or a Donovan Mitchell and try and cut to the basket, but it's also for Jarrett Allen too. Fake DHOs that can open up cutting lanes, that the guard, you can fake that dribble handoff to the guard and hit them in stride as they're cutting to the basket, and or free up some shooters out there. There's a lot of different things that you can do to utilize his ability to pass the rock, whether that be big to big passing or simple inverted pick and rolls. There are a couple of different things that I would like to see changed with the way that this offense is flowing, especially without Darius Garland being out there. But I say all this to say that when you get Jarrett Allen the rock, I generally believe that it is a good case for a W most of the time. And that's on coaching. No other way around it. That's a Kenny Atkinson, Johnny Bryant, whoever else you want to lump into there. That's an issue for them. And yeah, last season, they benefited heavily from having Jordan Ott. That's a name that I probably hate hearing because of the success that he is experiencing outside of Cleveland, at least from an offensive standpoint. And he had a big deal and big role in elevating Evan Mobley last year. But I just don't know why we are seeing some of these troubling developments over these last couple of games. I don't know why Jarrett is not playing as much as he should be. And that is my genuine opinion. Jarrett Allen is not playing as much as he should. He only played 21 minutes tonight, right? After having a 30 and 10 night. It just should not happen. And then you have the performance in the loss to Miami where essentially he doesn't touch the court in the fourth quarter or at the midway point of the fourth quarter, and he plays a lower amount of minutes, and he should have been in the game on the last possession in that inbounds play. All I'm trying to say here is that you got to get him involved. And I'm not trying to make this a Jarrett Allen show, right? But that's just the case to me. That's where I'm at with this. I think that when you get him involved, usually you're heading in the right direction, and that is how I would like the Cavaliers to proceed when you don't have a Darius Garland out there. You got to figure out a way to get this man the ball, especially when you're jacking up triples and it's not falling. You have to attack the interior of this defense. Yeah, I know not having Lonzo out there, not having Darius out there, two floor generals who do things a little differently. That hurts, but that's not an excuse. The Cavaliers had more than enough firepower to get this one done. I just hated the effort. I hated the effort that we got from them tonight. I hated the fact that they continuously lacked involvement for Jarrett Allen, and that he didn't play nearly as much as he should have. And the same things that continue to plague the Cavaliers are plaguing them. The too many opportunities for Toronto, that's another thing, another point of contention. The Cavaliers surrendered 14 second chance points to Toronto. Yeah, they got 19, so they won that, but there were literal possessions for Cleveland where, for Toronto rather, where they're getting like 2 or 3, 4 cracks at it. There was one in particular that stood out to me, and that was Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes got like 3 or 4 shot attempts on one possession because the Cavaliers failed to secure a defensive rebound. You cannot have that. That cannot be the case. And sometimes they won't make you pay for it, but 9 times out of 10, what will end up happening is the ball will get kicked out, and then a shooter will drill a 3, and there's a horrible swing. You could have just ended the possession right there. The Cavaliers on the defensive glass have to be better. Got to be better. I don't know. Let's hop into the chat, shall we? Before I go crazy here. Let's see who has something to say. Jawan Sylvan says this team is trash and it's not even close. I don't think they're trash, but I'm tired of the same trends plaguing them. That's where I'm at. D Jackson H1K says, man, we couldn't shoot free throws again. What is happening, Mac? The only player that really was a reliable scorer from the charity stripe tonight for the Cavaliers was Donovan Mitchell, obviously. Now, they were 21 of 26 from the free throw line. That is 80.8%. And you can attribute most of that to Don himself, who took 17 of those 26. But let's see here. Mobley, another night where he's missing free throws, 2 of 4. That's 50%. DeAndre Hunter missed a free throw, going 1 and 2. And that's it, right? Nae'Qwan hit both of his. Sam hit his. There's just certain points where, yeah, man, you got to make these shots. Got to make these shots. Cavs King 2016 says, Miami flu carried over, shaking my head. Bad game for Mobley. Can't be doing that if he's trying to take the lead. Frustrating loss. Pretty good sum, right? That sums it up pretty well. Cameron Johnson 8363 says, no, Mac, the rotations from Kenny were awful. I think I said as much. So I think we're in agreement there. It's really weird rotations at times. And I think some of that can be boiled down to the personnel available, as you are missing good amount of rotational level talent. But I didn't love what I saw tonight. And I think that after Tomlin played the way that he did last night, you rewarded him, and Larry sat after only playing 7 minutes. That was the right decision. Conversely, not playing Jarrett Allen as much, that's a poor decision in my opinion. Trevi says, I can't stand this team sometimes. Like, they have to play with effort consistently. We let everyone just run all over us, bro. You have to hustle all season for the playoffs. Just disappointing. And that goes into the habits. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The effort is a habit that's a good habit or a bad habit, depending upon how you're playing during the season. Even if you're losing games, you want to see consistent effort. And the Cavaliers have not shown that this year. Rudy Lane says, we need a veteran that can hold this team accountable in terms of effort. Thomas Bryant is a veteran presence at this point in his career. And I think there's only so much a veteran is going to be able to do, because at this point, Donovan Mitchell is a veteran. There's only so much. They have to do it. They have to want it. There's nobody that's going to be able to tell them anything that they don't already know, in my opinion. The effort just has to be better. Fabian Quintero says, 7 points for Mobley in 36 minutes is pathetic. It's time to package him and Garland for Giannis. I don't see superstar on Mobley. He's not polished or smooth. Yeah, I'm not even going to get into that. Listen, they're not doing that. I wouldn't do that. Darius Garland and Evan Mobley for Giannis at this point in time. I don't even think. Well, you know what? It's tough because theoretically, yeah, you probably would. You would do that. But at the same time, from a cap standpoint, there's just not really any viable ways to get that done. So there's no point in having that discussion. And I'm certainly not going to do that after one game performance like this from Mobley. I'm not doing that. Nah, not having that discussion right now. Floyd Phillips II says Cavs are still living off 64 wins last season. 64 wins was their championship. I mean, what are we 13 games into the season? If they beat Toronto's ass tonight, I just don't think you can say with one way or another where their mind's at. They obviously have a collective goal in mind. That's the reason why they sat the starters last night. But the on-court product hasn't looked as good as we thought it would to begin the season. Some of it you can say, yeah, makes sense. Others, there's no excuses. There's validity on both sides of the equation, in my opinion. Rap God Reloaded says, I kind of knew the Cavs were going to lose. Certainly had that feeling, but I don't know that I never truly enter a game feeling like this is a scheduled loss, even though that is the case a lot of times. But this is the one that should have been winnable for the Cavs. So it was disappointing, truly was. Cameron Johnson says it is the regular season. Kenny said he would experiment. It's just frustrating to live with it on a day-to-day basis. Bingo. I think that I literally have probably said this on each and every stream to begin the year. It's all about the 3 E's. Experience, evaluation, that's one. That is definitely one. Experiment is number 2. Evolve is number 3. The 3 E's. It's hard to watch at times as they're tinkering. They're trying to figure out which lineups work well, and you're already dealing with these injuries. So you kind of have that built in already by its necessity. So I don't necessarily think that it's going to get better until they get healthy. We're going to see less experimentation, in my opinion, once they get healthy. But in this early portion of the season where you don't have Max, you don't really know what's going on with Darius. Yeah, you're going to do a lot of this experimentation. And sometimes it's going to look good. Sometimes it's not. Cavs King 2016 says, love Larry, but he was making some bonehead mistakes tonight. Y'all notice my guy. I try not to, jump fully on a player after just 13 games into a season, but Larry has not had the greatest start to the year. And so I completely understood why he was benched tonight. That is the type of stuff that has to happen. When you see a player doesn't have it in a game, it is perfectly okay to go to another option. That's fine. That's called being objective. That's called understanding the situation, or in other words, situational awareness. He didn't have it. Nae'Qwan Tomlin did. Thomas Bryant brought more, right? This is exactly the type of decision making you have to have when you're a coach. And at least in that regard, I do give Kenny a little bit of credit. Truly. Maximus Rosnak says, thoughts on Raptors fans saying they own us? They don't, though. Listen, if I've learned anything over the years dealing with fans of other fan bases on social media, it is simply that when it's good, it's good, and when it's bad, meaning when you beat their team, they're silent. But when you lose, yeah, they're going to be chirping. And at the end of the day, Mobley had a bad game. Historically speaking, the Cavaliers have beat the shit out of the Toronto Raptors. This goes back a long time, even before this current core is assembled, obviously. But at the end of the day, when you win, you get those bragging rights. And that's when Mobley has games like he did tonight, it doesn't help the case. Now, do we believe that Evan Mobley is a better player? Yes. I mean, he's a better player, in my opinion, obviously, than Scotty Barnes. But again, opinions are subjective. And obviously, as Raptors fans, they're going to believe in their guy, Scotty. And I don't have a problem with that. And I think that the talking has to be done on the court. So let them have their fun, as Chaz Erica says down here. Jonah Quest says no, floor general hurts 100%. I think I mentioned not having Darius out there, not having Lonzo, although those two create for others in different ways because Lonzo's not a driver of the basketball. He doesn't offer dribble penetration. Darius Garland's complete opposite. He offers those things, but Lonzo does a lot of different things in terms of the side to side and passing guys open, outlet passes. He does a lot of these things that we don't often see from Darius either. So they get guys involved in different ways. And overall, you just don't have the two of the floor generals out there. That's where I'm at. Raving Pursuit says Mobley doesn't like offense, it seems. I don't think that's the case. I just think that they have tried to force feed him way too much in terms of self-creation out there. Not having that floor general out there to get you into good looks means that you're already dealing with a lot of uncomfortability. I don't know. There's not really any excuses though for Mobley tonight. That's the one thing that can be said. Even if because we have seen Evan Mobley have good games even this year, but we have also seen him put up some duds. And tonight was an absolute dud when you couldn't afford it. And so that's okay to call that out. Call it like you see it. If he has a good game, give him his credit. When he has a bad game, call it like you see it. And that's exactly what it was. That's really what it's about tonight. Provided 253 says, give this man some likes. Do as he says. Help your boy out, even in a loss. You guys know I'm here to let off, blow off some steam just like you are. But what a rough one. What a deflating loss after such an invigorating victory from last night and seeing some of the individual developments, whether that be Craig or Tomlin or Brian. That was awesome. But as things stand right now, I think we're going to be okay. We're 13 games in. I'm not making any declarations yet. We don't even know what this team is going to look like come midseason just because they're not healthy. Some of the issues that we were seeing can't be tossed out the window or swept under the rug because they are there. The rebounding issues have been there. The inability to defend the perimeter, that has been there. The over-reliance on the perimeter shot, that has been there. But some of these are the direct result of who is missing. Others are just pure effort. The rebounding, that's an effort thing mostly. Yeah, positioning has to improve, but there's a lot of effort-based issues that we're seeing from this team too. And I think that can get better. I think it will get better. But the only way that we'll know that is time. And so that's where I'm going to leave it at. As always, tell you guys, if you'd like to reach out, you know how you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you'd like to be added to the Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot of said review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you said invite. If you want to support the show in a small but helpful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon or YouTube. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. But even if you don't, all you have to do is make sure to come back. That's all I'm saying. Support your boy.